Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Talk Amongst Yourselves. My name is Tanaka Mundu, and we have some sport to talk about. Yeah, things have been happening. Things have certainly been happening in the world of sport. Things have been happening, not happening, shouldn't happen, something along those lines. But certainly, what cannot be ignored is the fact that there has been a lot of fracas happening on the social spaces. We could talk CAS locally, soccer, even EFC as well, which is up for grabs. And maybe that's where we'll start. We'll start with what's happening here, right, as it pertains to the continent, what's happening particularly in South Africa, and that's EFC number 85. I'm not sure what the number 85 is in Spanish. Cash, any ideas? Home. Let's go with that. Whatever.
Wow.
We'll go with that. Amazing developments happening with the EFC. You know, I'm a massive fan of mixed martial arts, particularly the EFC and the promotion that they've become. If you haven't been to an EFC event, it's probably something that you want to put on your bucket list, right? It's epic. It's every bit as advertised, every bit as good as whatever product you've seen elsewhere. And for the longest time, they struggled to put on events. Yeah, they just couldn't get it right. And now, by hook or crook, any means necessary, May 8th, the first EFC fight card will be on since the lockdown in South Africa, which happened towards the back end of March. It's crazy. When I spoke to Graham Cartmore, who's the VP, a good friend of mine, and we speak quite often about these things, just the hiatus in which they've had to take, how damaging it's been on the business, and the ideas that have come out of that bad space that they were in as a company. So this is no small thing. The fact that we're here, fighters have an opportunity to fight again, and that will be happening on May 8th. It's a stacked card, right? Faiz Jacobs is on the card. Boyd Allen is back after his boxing stint. Zulu Boy is on the card as well. So if you're someone who knows mixed martial arts, these names mean something to you. I won't go deep into my thoughts about the actual fights. We'll do that at a later stage, and maybe even have a few of the fighters come and join us on the show and tell us their thoughts about fighting again after such a long time and just where they've been, how they've been keeping financially stable. It's been a time where they haven't been paid by the EFC, that is, and now they're back. What are their aspirations going forward? To that point, this is what I did want to talk about as it pertains to the EFC, is this new initiative of theirs, the hashtag I am in, right? I'm in. It's I'm in. I'm in initiative. It's a fantastic campaign. And essentially it goes like this. So a good friend of mine, Pilani Mkwakwame, wrote about it over on the Sports Hype blog. EFC will be, I don't know how to explain markets, Cash. Okay, let me just read what he said, lest I botch it, right? So EFC, come the 8th. So the majority, okay, here's where it is. The EFC confirmed on that the May 8th event will return to business and purchasing it. So this is it. Athletes will be able to purchase equity in the promotion, right? So what will happen is that majority of the athletes' purses, they'll be paid in money, but a lot of their bonuses and some of the incentives, the monetary incentives, will be put towards a share in the business. So the EFC will ultimately be, will have 20% of the business up on the market, right? Initially for athletes, and then ultimately for you and me as just stakeholders and fans of the sport, we can get involved as well and purchase some stake in the EFC. What that will come with alongside just saying, I've put my money in a really good place in a promotion that's bound to grow, will be a lot of other good things as well. Like you'll get access to premium information and also your viewership and all that kind of jazz. Graham Cartmore will probably have to come on and explain these things better than I have. But what cannot be ignored is that this bad space that they're in, this great idea and campaign has been launched where I'm not sure in another sport where athletes actually have equity in the company or promotion or club that they play for or fight for. This is the first time we're seeing this in Africa, and possibly even it will be an idea that's used by other promotions, other companies, other sports teams going forward, where you let athletes get involved and we the fans get involved as well. So absolutely love it. I'll link the article that Pilani wrote, which explains better than I have. Jeez Louise, I don't know. Honestly, in my head it was all very clear. And then words like equity and yield and return on investments started just to fly around and all got very confusing. But I'll link the article, and I also have Graham Cartmore on this show to explain a little bit better what all of this means. But it is a very, very good thing for sport going forward, and certainly for the athletes in the EFC. In a country where, the last point on this, athletes who enjoy the rewards of very good careers never really get to enjoy those rewards for a long time after their careers are done. This initiative, this campaign not only ensures that the EFC is able to run again, but also ensures that these athletes who we love and who have had good stints in the EFC, that money is generational as opposed to 20 years that you have it and then you're trying to figure things out again. So it's a fantastic initiative, and you want to read about it in case you're someone who wants to invest, and I implore you to invest in what the EFC is doing. So with that being said, let's talk about the thing that everybody wants to talk about. Yeah, Super League. Woohoo. I didn't start with it because it's just ever evolving, right? So like when this thing became a thing, myself and Cash got on the phone line immediately, as we so often do, and I said, Cash, book it. We need to talk about it. Schedules happened as they did. We're putting this video out at this juncture because, you know, it is what it is. But I at least thought, I didn't think it would unravel so quickly. I thought when I heard the news Monday morning, this is something that could even potentially make it to court. I thought the owners would be that defiant and that adamant that they want to join the Super League come what may. And that's what we were hearing by some of these unnamed stakeholders and dudes in the background who were saying, oh, owners aren't fussed by all this noise. Well, yeah, they were fussed, apparently. They did budge, and then they started to fall like dominoes, right? It was first Chelsea, then Manchester City, and then everybody kind of followed, and then into the Serie A, AC Milan pulled out, and now really what stands of what was the 12 teams that initially had signed up to the Super League is just Barcelona, Real Madrid, and Juventus. The irony of that is they're probably the teams in the most dire straits as it pertains to their finances, and you understand why this move for them makes sense. You've probably heard everything there is to hear about the Super League, right? Like the fact that we don't want it as fans, and football is a sport that rewards, right? Like effort should meet reward. If you finish in a certain position and that position is within the parameters of that next competition, then you should be able to qualify for that competition without being removed from the conversation purely because you're not part of these so-called Big Six. And I think therein lies the problem first and foremost. This is something we cannot lie about. Football fans have wanted to see this. For a long time, I have in my mind envisaged a time where we would have the best clubs compete against each other. And not like in a Champions League format where there's a lot of fat around it, if that makes sense. With no disrespect to other teams, but there's a lot of, it's a what draw did you get? You know, and then maybe potentially you'll meet these teams in the future. Football is a sport for the surprise, right? We don't put it past the smaller teams to beat the bigger teams. But as it pertains to the business side of it, which is why I wasn't completely so shocked by this decision, the business needs to add up, right? Because ultimately that's what this is. We are fans, we are part and parcel of the game. Without fans, football is nothing. But when you think about the business aspect, it makes sense what they were trying to do. Honestly, I'm not shot there like, oh, what, why? How dare you? That's not my feeling. My feeling is genuinely, it makes sense. Unfortunate that they just couldn't do it in a way that would have made sense for everybody else as well and not look like it was only there to benefit a few teams. So to that point, let's discuss a few things. First thing, what comes next? Yeah, that's the big question that everybody has. There is a law. Let me pull that law up for you right now so we can all kind of be on the same page. There is a law in the Premier League which prohibits teams from joining it's Premier League Rule L9, which says member club needs prior written approval by the board to enter a new competition, and this official says that rule has patently been broken, right? So essentially now we're talking about sanctions for these sides because there was a process, that process was ignored. What comes next? It's a difficult space to be in because you can't exactly penalize players, right? You can't say dock points because the players have nothing to do with making these decisions. You can't say club owners need to be, or not club owners, sorry, you can't say coaches or managers need to be sanctioned because again, they were outside of these decisions and a lot of them spoke up against the Super League. So how do you tackle the problem with the owners and also deal with the fact that they kind of went outside of protocol? That's an interesting one. I actually have no ideas about what comes next, but something should be done because protocol is necessary. If we just have people run around and do what they want, what kind of place will that be? I'm thinking about a lot of African countries right now. The names of so many African countries just came to mind, but that's not what we're discussing at the moment. Secondly, it's also important to note that it's so funny what happens when you start to mess with the money, right? Like it's okay if it's racial abuse. It's okay when bananas are being thrown onto the field, and then only when it's really bad, we'll take a knee, right? That's what we'll do. We'll take a knee or we'll get together and we'll say, oh, racism out. But never this type of uproar for social injustice, right? It's never that way. We still have issues today, despite all the knees that have been taken across all the games that have been played. We are still dealing with racial issues today, and I'm wondering, where's all this outrage? Where's all this relegate teams? Why aren't we hearing that same kind of talk when it comes to issues that pertain to matters of race, of equality? We don't hear things like that. I mean, isn't it shocking that in England, and this is a stat I read a while ago, so it may have been amended, but the fact that across the 92 teams, across the 4 or 5 divisions in the English League, there were only at some stage like 4 black coaches or coaches of color. That kind of inequality is not spoken about. You have a Frank Lampard who says, "Oh, it's nothing but a thing. I didn't get you about it." That's what people are saying about things like that. But no one is writing letters about, listen, fix this or problems. Are there no qualified black coaches? Is that what we're saying? I don't believe that's the case. And I don't mean to take us down the racial angle and be that guy, right? Who just sounds hurt. But what I'm saying is it's worth mentioning the fact that there's never a consistency. And when you tackle the money, then ultimately you tackle the issue. You tackle the real problem. And that's why there's all this uproar. Lastly, and my final thoughts on this matter with regards to what has happened. Gianni Infantino, who's the president of FIFA, who's ultimately against this decision of there being a Super League, has proposed this exact same Super League as it is in Europe for Africa. The same guy who's talking about this is anti-football has said the exact same thing should happen here on the African continent, which goes to show. Point made once again. This was a money issue, and the only fortune that Gianni Infantino, Alexandre Ceferin had as the heads of these organizations, UEFA and FIFA respectively, is that we the people sided with them. That's the only difference here. We as the fans of the sport decided, you know what, we want a sport that rewards. But I don't at all think that they were sat there making all that noise about players not playing at the World Cup and talking all that ridiculous talk because really they had a problem with football not rewarding efforts. I think it was more to do with the money side of things. So just for those of you who don't know, the proposal from Gianni Infantino for the continent is that 20 teams, ironically, join into a league together where the teams have to pay a buy-in to get into these leagues of 5 million, right? Euro, I don't remember if it's euro or dollars, 5 million to get into the league. And then the same thing happens. It's once you've bought into it, it's probably a yearly retainer, but you stay in that league of 20 and nobody else can come in or disrupt what those 20 teams are doing. Why is it okay for Africa, but it's not okay for Europe? It's baffling. It's confusing. But we're here now. It's not going to happen. Teams have pulled out. Real Madrid's financial woes will continue. Barcelona will continue to scramble and pray to God that manna rains from heaven to deal with their financial situations. AC Milan, who are in absolute tatters at the moment. Inter Milan as well. Juventus. All these teams who are chomping at the bits to be part of this competition. Their financial situations will remain the same. That's unfortunate for them, but it is what it is. They got themselves there, I suppose. Other means will be necessary to take them out. My thoughts on it all, would have loved to have seen it. It would have been great, and I think a time will come where we do watch a Super League. It's unavoidable. We want to see the best versus the best, and we want to be able to sit back and say at the end of it all, we know unequivocally this is the best team in Europe. And it's not that way in the Champions League. The Champions League can't pay enough, as per Mr. Wenger, his thoughts so long ago. They can't pay enough. The Super League was a chance, outside of financial fair play, at some real balance amongst the biggest teams. It will never completely be fair. Southampton will never be Liverpool. They will never be Manchester United, try as they may. Maybe outside of getting a massive financial investment. But we were really going to see teams getting the sums of money that would put them on par. And that for me was an exciting prospect. What would Tottenham look like with the same amount of opportunity as Manchester City in the transfer market? Arsenal, what would they look like with all the history that they have of having had great players in years gone by? All those prospects were very exciting to me. So I'm not completely devastated that the league is not happening. The way it was going, it wouldn't have made any sense. Sanctions and players not playing at World Cups and talking about relegating teams because they went about it the wrong way, that wouldn't have made sense. But I genuinely and truly believe that there is a future for the Super League. That time will come. It's inescapable. That time will certainly come. And all these people who have fallen away and kind of, had to fall on their swords because plans didn't work, they'll be back in the future. And maybe they'll go about it a different way. Maybe structurally things will be different. But for sure, we will come a time where we see change at the highest level. So that's my thoughts on that. I know there's so much more I could say, about the Super League. There's so much more I could say about the EFC as well. I'll try my best to kind of put the articles in at the bottom, and you can kind of follow, and come to your own kind of feeling or thought process about investing in the EFC and Super League matters as well. But thank you so much for tuning in to Talk Amongst Yourselves. You know what to do. Get in the comment section below and continue those conversations. Talk amongst yourselves, TAY. Goodbye.